right. In the interest of time, we will get started. We gave ourselves 30 precious seconds. Thank you all. Thank you all again for joining us today and traveling far and wide to come to our beautiful campus of the University of Notre Dame and to engage in 2 days of dialogue and discussion around R.I.S.E AI, responsible, inclusive, safe, and ethical AI. Before I get much deeper into the conference and what this means and share with you all the statistics and information about it, I'd like us to start with a blessing from our President Emeritus, Reverend John I. Jenkins, CSC. He was elected in 2005 as the University of Notre Dame's 17th president, and he served 4 times as president, stepping down in 2024 after 19 years of exemplary leadership and growth to return back to teaching and ministry. As the president of the university, he devoted himself to fostering the university's unique place in academia, the church, the United States, and the world. Dr. Jenkins has been committed to combining teaching and research excellence with a cultivation of the deeper purposes of Catholic higher education. While pursuing academic distinction, he brought renewed emphasis to Notre Dame's distinctive mission, rooted in the tradition of the Congregation of the Holy Cross, the university's founding community, to educate the whole person, mind, body, and spirit, to do good in the world. These commitments are manifest in the university's dedication to excellence in undergraduate education, in classroom and beyond, while simultaneously building a reputation as a preeminent global research institution, all in the context of Notre Dame's Catholic identity. And I would also like to add, personally, I'm deeply grateful for his presence and prayers here. The Lucy Family Institute was founded during his presidency, and he led the dedication ceremony of the Lucy Family Institute with Bob and Sarah Lumpkins, the family who donated with their generosity to founding the institute. Father John, please, thank you.
Well, Nitesh, thank you for that, and I thank you for recognizing the Lucy family, and thank you for your leadership. Those in us in administration know it's about the people in the end, and Nitesh has been a dynamic leader for this institute, and we're just important things to come, but we're proud of where we come from. So let us begin this session with a blessing. We give you thanks, Lord God, for the presence of participants from across the nation and around the world in this conference on responsible, inclusive, safe, and ethical AI. May these days be productive and fruitful for all participants, especially those who have traveled far. As we invoke you, Lord, we thank you for the human intelligence and creativity that has made the powerful tool of AI possible. And we ask for your help that we may use it well. We ask, Lord, that in our development and use of AI, it might serve the dignity of every human being, serve the poor and marginalized of the world who often have the greatest needs but are the least well-positioned to take advantage of AI's power, and serve not only our wants, but our true good. We ask that in our use, we may be responsible stewards of the environment you have given us, and we ask that the emergence of this powerful tool may deepen, not diminish, our connection with one another as we strive to build a society in which all may flourish and none are neglected. Lord, at this time especially, grant us wisdom, discernment, and love. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Thank you so much, Father John, again, and let's thank him, please. And truly, for your leadership for 19 years, and I started at the university in 2007 in my tenure track capacity, and we have grown and expanded, not only in terms of the buildings and infrastructure we have, but also in all the research and educational programming that's been enabled. And thank you for getting us to this stage, Father John. And thank you for your prayer and your reflections on, it's an important aspect to think about as we have gathered here today. Our conversations and discussions around AI it is a creation of human ingenuity. It is the human intelligence at its very best. And we are also now having a responsibility around how we use it, how we deploy it, how we further manifest it in different applications. And that is the idea of shared responsibility, that we must stay anchored in our enduring values that govern us. And that spirit hopefully sets our tone for the next few days. And when in doubt, just reflect on the prayer of Father John today morning, and it will remove all the doubts that we may have had about where we are and why we are here today. So it's my great joy to welcome you all to the first edition of R.I.S.E AI at Notre Dame. And for those who have, it's the first time you're coming here, welcome. For those who have second or third time or n number of times, welcome back. My son started at Notre Dame this year, and one thing that at the admissions at the welcome weekend, they said, welcome home. So welcome home to all of you too, because this is our collective home as we think about. And we could not have I could not be more grateful to have the opportunity to host you on a beautiful campus. I know several of you partook in different activities and excursions around campus. Our friend from Chile, Patricio, had his bike and his camera and filmed the entire campus and blasted it on social media on how beautiful this campus is. Thank you, Patricio from Chile, for doing that. And as a point of introduction, I'm Nitesh Chawla. I should tell you who I am at least. I'm the founding director of the Lucy Family Institute for Data and Society. And I also have a new role as a Lucy Family Director for Data and Academic Strategy, leading the Data, AI, and Computing Initiative, which is part of a 2033 strategic framework at Notre Dame. And before we begin, I'd like to share what brought us here. We have about 340 people registered as part of this conference. 148 presentations, posters, or panelists. 16 different countries represented. 55 different companies, 38 universities. And we received 178 abstracts as part of this inaugural edition of R.I.S.E AI. It clearly is a collective effort as we sort of find ourselves here, and it takes a big team to get us to this stage in less than 10 months. It's a collective team at the Lucy Family Institute and the university which truly made this possible. And I'd like to thank them here. This is the organizing committee that you see on the screen. And if I know several of you are outside, if you're in the room, if you could all please stand up as part of the organizing committee or the program committee, if you see your name here, and if you're in the room right now, please stand up, please. And let's give them all, they're coming in. Let's give them all a huge a round of applause. And it's nothing short of extraordinary, because folks who know me well, it's like, let's do this. We have a great idea. And I was talking to another colleague of mine here, Julie from Analytics, and she said, the plate's spinning, and you tell, oh, just catch it now, and I'm going to run away. But this is truly a collective. You all have been deeply instrumental in shaping it, in getting us here, and all the hard work that has gone in, and including the advisory committee that is coming together from all across campus. When we set out on the mission of doing this conference, we wanted to make sure that we have our campus strengths represented in the formation of the program, in the formation of the dialogue. So we have individuals and faculty leaders from all colleges and schools part of helping us shape what R.I.S.E AI could be. Because it's not just an initiative that could sit in that this is a vision or an idea. It is a collective formation of our thought, collective formation of our community. So I'm deeply grateful to the entire advisory committee as well, which helped us really form what this idea and mission could be. And I'm also very grateful to everyone who has traveled to be here. As Father John also pointed out, that traveling from far and near, some of us had difficult travels. Maybe 1 mile away. Some of us traveled from as far as Australia, Vietnam, and all over the world. We have every continent in this room today represented. So thank you. Thank you for helping us shape this dialogue. And I do realize that getting to South Bend, which is, of course, one of the best cities in the world, and I hope you get to experience it. I used to live in Toronto before moving to South Bend, and we needed a bit more excitement in our lives, so we moved to South Bend from Toronto. Trust me. But we know it can take an extra flight or drive to get to South Bend. So thank you. Thank you for coming. And what we did in return to welcome you all, we worked very hard to make sure you have glorious autumn sunshine awaiting you. And we also made sure Notre Dame wins the football game. Go Irish. We did all we could. I can't promise the same weather for next 2 days. We really tried, we prayed, but I hope you get to enjoy. But I do hope that our presence, our energy, and our sunny dispositions amongst us today bring the warmth inside. We may not need the sun shining outside because all of you would be the shining stars and sun. I would also like to acknowledge our sponsors whose support has been vital in making R.I.S.E possible through their generosity, whether it's 1842 Fund, Ascension team, Artificial Intelligence Journal, Analytics, Industry Labs, Johnson & Johnson, MasterCard. If you are here, could you please stand up if the representative is from, so we could thank you? Please, thank you. So thank you, because as I said, it requires a village to pull this all together. And again, let me remind you, in 8 to 10 months of time, we find ourselves here with this collective commitment and collective support from each other to grow what this R.I.S.E enterprise could be. And to give you a bit of a background as well, so on how we even found ourselves with this R.I.S.E conference, the Lucy Family Institute, as I mentioned earlier, was established in 2020 with the generosity of Bob and Sarah Lumpkins. And it was clear when we even founded it back in 2020 that it's Lucy Family Institute for Data and Society, where society is not an afterthought, where society is not a band-aid that we put out. It's data science for social good. We will figure out the social good as we go along. But we are Notre Dame. Society is intrinsic to what we do in our research, is intrinsic to how we think about education, is intrinsic to how we think about our local and global engagement as a university as well. Hence this data and society, where every work we do is not only grounded in what are some of the fundamental data AI challenges we may tackle, but what does it mean for society? What does it mean for society? What translational impact it can have? What considerations and ideas we can generate from that perspective? And as a result, every year at the Institute, we embrace an annual theme, and that guides our work for the year. In 2023, 2024, our focus was on translational data science and AI as we tried to tackle the challenge of what does it mean to bridge the last mile? How do we go beyond the paper that we may have published to a societal application? How do we go from this is an idea, this is an innovation, this is an algorithm, or this is a method, or this is a new tool that we have created, and make it work for the problems that we intend to solve? It's not just a promise in the research paper. Oh, someone will do it if you do it this way. But that last mile challenge is hard, and several of us who work here who are coming from corporations or companies realize that getting that product market fit is one of the hardest things. So how do we sort of go through that? And then for this academic year, 2024-2025, we decided that our annual theme that will govern us, or the framework that will govern us, will be responsible, inclusive, safe, and ethical AI. And I still remember that at our all-hands meeting in December, there was excitement and, yes, some nerves as we said, hey, let's organize a conference. It was December 12th or 13th, just before we were breaking for holidays. Think about ruining people's holidays, right? You say, hey, let's organize a conference come October. We didn't have a date yet even because we had to understand what's Notre Dame football schedule is going to be so we could host all of you on campus and ensure that you have places to live and stay at near campus during your time here. At that time, what we didn't realize is you're going to be packed between 2 game weekends. But we were able to still, but it worked out just well to have us to organize it on October 6 to 8. And clearly, as I said, a lot had to be done in less than 10 months. The campus community had to be galvanized, bringing in thought leadership from different faculty leaders on campus, understanding industry partnership, creating a call for papers, reviewing abstracts, selecting them, etc. It truly was a lot of work. But with this team, as I said earlier, a lot can be done. And I couldn't be more grateful to just be a part of this team, because it's easy to come with an idea. Execution is what takes a village. And knowing this team, when it comes to execution, they just tell me to be a backbencher because I'm just noise to them then. They don't want me around. And we today have leading scholars, industry experts, NGOs, students, faculty, abundance of campus voices, and to shape sessions that reflect the breadth and depth of Notre Dame. Notre Dame's expertise in AI, data, especially as we think about responsible, inclusive, safe, and ethical AI, and the global community. And I'm deeply grateful to colleagues across campus again. In his inaugural address, when Father John handed over the baton to Father Bob Dowd to become our next university president, he inspired us in his inaugural address. And I think there were two aspects which spoke deeply to me, was building bridges and forming interdisciplinary communities. And that's what we are doing here today. All of us are coming from different disciplines, different training backgrounds, different places in the world. But I hope over the next 2 days, we form our own communities. We build bridges, because that's what makes us a global, in solidarity, that's what makes us a global connected community to tackle this. And even in the last 1 year, as we were thinking about R.I.S.E AI at the Lucy Family Institute, we started multiple research labs to help us focus in that direction. We started a human-centered responsible AI lab, which my colleague Toby Lee is leading. The AI Trust and Reliability Lab, that my colleague Adam Sachka is leading. Health Data Exploration Analytics Lab, which now Fang Liu is leading. And the Foundation Models Lab that Xiangliang Zhang and Meng Jiang are leading. And the reason we created these labs was to sort of have a purposeful focus on what we are trying to do here, because it creates a community, and each of these labs have membership that represent different campus strengths as well. So we wanted to make sure that our actions follow our words, and in doing so, we have to build and create these communities that we can within the Institute as well. So that leads me to R.I.S.E AI. What is R.I.S.E AI, and why this acronym, Responsible, Inclusive, Safe, and Ethical? And why would this even became the guiding theme for us for the last 1 year, and will continue to be? If you think about R, the responsibility, and responsible AI is a very common, 3 words or 2 phrases that we hear every time. And I've been working on a paper on this as well to be out soon, but what does responsible AI mean? There is no mathematical formulation of responsibility. If you have one, I can optimize my algorithm, right? So there isn't any. So the machine learning model, at the end of the day, underlying all of this, it's a transformer architecture, a neural network, is optimizing on error. If there's some loss function, there's no loss function that we optimize. There's no gradient descent on responsibility. So then that sort of thinks about is, like, let's keep that AI model aside for a second. What is that journey of AI as we think about data collection, data use, the model developers, the model users, the deployment pipeline of AI? That's where it's a shared responsibility across the continuum. So how do we begin to think about responsible AI from that perspective? Inclusive is, are we inclusive of all the voices, not only here within the United States, but globally? We had an amazing session by the Latin American leaders this morning, and they were talking about that, the different indices and preparedness of Latin American countries today in the world of AI. These language models are largely trained in English, and with the data that's been created by the predominant users of the internet. What happens to all the voices that are not represented? And even within the United States, the small to mid-sized enterprises, they are not as represented in this. Some communities are not. So how do we ensure that voice comes in? And it's not the same thing as translation, right? Kathleen Hessert before the session here was talking about the aging population. How are they represented? How can we be inclusive of all? And that's a big challenge. And it's not just we'll get translation from English to Spanish, but I've been to Chile enough, and there's Chileanisms that only Chileans understand, right? It doesn't go to any other Latin American country. And likewise, I was in Kenya, and there was a lady sharing her experience where she talked about, she was asking a chatbot, and she said, my baby is not in play. In Swahili, the chatbot said, these are the toys. But in Swahili, it means that any gynecologist would know in Swahili, my baby is not doing well in my womb. That context was missing. So that culture, that demographic, the backgrounds all have to be weaved in together. Safety, as we think about, safety is essential. You would not board a plane if somebody tells you it's not certified for safety, would you? You would not step into your automobile, where all the automobile manufacturers talk about safety. I often think about it this way as safety is you see these television ads where a new prescription medicine comes out and flowers are blossoming and trees are green and people are laughing and that this medicine will do this. And then a fast-talking voice says, and if you do this, these are the side effects, ba, 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 and you may die, right? But somebody has tested that safety. Today, we are interacting with these AI systems without quite having an assessment. We don't know what the side effects are. And we find ourselves in a situation where a 16-year-old child may commit suicide through the interactions, informed by the interactions with the tool that we have created. So that safety is paramount. The trust and reliability is paramount. And finally, ethical AI. And it's a pleasure to be at Notre Dame to pursue this, where our ethics are grounded in the Catholic social teaching. CST reminds us that AI must pursue the common good, not just efficiency or innovation, ensuring that the benefits are shared equitably, that the vulnerable are not marginalized, and that power is distributed with a view towards solidarity and subsidiarity, all while upholding the dignity of every human person. And then we also have abundance of ethical leadership on this campus. We have a gift because we are Notre Dame. We have the Delta framework that the Ethics Initiative announced. We have the ND Paideia. Paideia, for those who don't know, is a Greek term. I didn't know about it as well. I was educated. That's being led by Tom Stapleford on the moral, physical, and intellectual training necessary to instill a shared way of life. The Institute of Social Concerns that talks about virtues and vocations. Mendoza's business ethics program. The ethics and responsible computing curriculum in engineering. We are collectively cultivating a culture here that integrates moral, intellectual, and social formation. So that's what makes us uniquely Notre Dame. And this is also an opportunity for us to sort of step ahead and say, how can we do this meaningful AI, purposeful AI research? And that's where, as I shared earlier, I have the privilege and super grateful to be leading the new initiative on data, AI, and computing, whose core aim is to advance purposeful data, AI, and computing. We have to excel in foundational research because that's what academic reputation is centered on, how fundamentally we are advancing science, but while catalyzing interdisciplinary collaboration and real-world translation to address pressing societal challenges. And our provost often reminds us that we have to be the premier global Catholic university, distinct or at par with the world's best private universities. We get there by attaching ourselves to be purposeful, thinking about the common good, while also advancing fundamental science, because that's what gets us into truly that global direction. So, this is just a beginning, my friends, and thank you for joining us here today. It is just a beginning, right? We are going to continue, we're going to spread. There'll be amazing dialogues that will shape, and we have to get it right. We have no other choice. But I do know that collective, us here from all over the world, every single continent represented, if we can't get it right, I don't know who would, right? And if we can't get it right under the shadows of our Golden Dome, I don't know who would. So I think we have to get it right. We will. And we've already been delighted by the conversations that are emerging on, let's do a R.I.S.E AI on roadshow in Latin America, R.I.S.E AI Africa, all in the spirit of solidarity, the essential tenet of Catholic social teaching as well. So I hope the next 2 days form partnerships, inspire new research, and set a compass, more importantly, a moral compass on how we shape AI for the world and how we can together rise to the occasion. And with that, I would introduce as our provost, John McGreevy, and who is the Charles and Jill Fisher Provost at the university. He's the university's chief academic officer and is responsible for the stewardship of the mission, serving as a principal representative of the Academy to both internal and external constituencies and leading strategic academic initiatives on behalf of the university. He's a graduate of this university and then did master's and doctoral degrees in history from Stanford. And he's an acclaimed historian. I mean, his books, especially on Catholicism and the history of that, is essential read for everyone. I encourage it for everyone in the room. And he's the Francis A. McEnany Professor of History as well at the University of Notre Dame. And he has he's challenged us with the 2033 strategic framework at the university, which I'm hoping he'll be talking about shortly. And that initiative asks us to think about big challenges, the problems that need solving, the problems that need Notre Dame to be present for across the dimensions, whether it's poverty, sustainability, or democracy, ethics, data, AI, arts, global Catholicism, like what kind of research agendas we should pursue from that perspective. And he's also given us as a university an important charge. Think institutionally, because then we form communities and build bridges. So as we can keep that in our mind as a university, what does the institution as Notre Dame is today and what it needs to be? I believe we can tackle some of the hardest challenges. So thank you, John, for your leadership and joining us today.
Thank you, Nitesh, for that overly kind introduction and for convening this important gathering of academic, industry, nonprofit, and government leaders on a topic that could not be more timely. As Nitesh mentioned, as a leading global Catholic research university, Notre Dame is proud to welcome you all to the 2025 R.I.S.E, Responsible, Inclusive, Safe, Ethical. Did I get that right? Yes. Okay, very good. R.I.S.E AI Conference. We have an extraordinary leader at the helm here in Nitesh, the Lucy family director of our new university-wide initiative on data, AI, and computing. This initiative will be foundational in advancing research while fostering cross-disciplinary collaboration and translating discoveries into solutions for society. Nitesh is not only a distinguished scholar in data and AI, he's really one of our most distinguished scholars at the university, but he's also a superb leader with a keen ability to turn ideas into action. He is driven by the question of how interdisciplinary technology research can advance the common good, a question and a problem that aligns beautifully with this conference, of course, but with the approach that Notre Dame is taking in its strategic framework. So please give me a round of applause for Nitesh. What is that strategic framework? We call it Notre Dame 2033. It's about building bridges across disciplines, across sectors, and across borders so that our work contributes more meaningfully to our students and to our society. This approach includes 8 university-wide strategic priorities that align with our distinctive mission, from poverty to sustainability, from democracy to health and well-being. These strategic initiatives are coordinated efforts drawing on expertise from across campus and partnerships around the world to advance research, teaching, and human flourishing. Already, these 8 university-wide initiatives are helping us think better as an institution. Our comparative advantage, we believe, because of our mission, because we're all located here in South Bend, Indiana, is to think better as an institution. And we continue to find new points of connection between the initiatives as well. For example, as Nitesh mentioned, our ethics initiative is tackling philosophical and theological questions related to AI ethics, and recently wrapped up a summit on AI, faith, and human flourishing. For a technology this disruptive, this important, this complex, we need to be addressing it from every angle. And the R.I.S.E AI conference will be an invaluable part of those conversations. But what makes this conference remarkable is not me, it's not our strategic framework, it's you. You are leaders from so many different spheres, and the bridges that you build here between disciplines, between institutions, between ideas are what will make this conversation memorable and what will make AI's future more humane and responsible. Thank you for joining us. And how does the provost end every short introduction he makes at every event at Notre Dame? 2 words. Go Irish. Go Irish. All right.
Thank you so much, John. I appreciate you taking time. I do realize that you have a class or some teaching to go to as well now. So thank you so much for taking our time today to join us. And now we would be moving on to we'll have a couple of talks before we have a keynote session by our friends from Ascension as well. And these two individuals have been dear friends and have been generous supporters of what we do at the Lucy Family Institute and what we do even within our community. So I would first introduce Martin, or Marty Rogers, who's on the board of trustees at the University of Notre Dame. And he's the US lead for health and public service client group at Accenture. He's also a member of Accenture's Global Management Committee. Marty worked on Capitol Hill prior to joining Ascension and helped write several successful pieces of legislation, including the creation of AmeriCorps and making the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday into a national day of service. Thank you, Marty. He earned his bachelor's degree from Notre Dame and an MBA from Harvard. And personally, Marty, I'm deeply grateful for your friendship and support, your personal generosity, and Accenture's generosity for supporting us over the last many years. And what started as the Health Equity Data Forum has grown into this because you believed what we could do here. So thank you.
Okay, so I think the ending is a good place to start, which is, yes, I believe. And as the provost said, I believe in all of you. And part of the reason that I'm here today and the part of the reason that Accenture is here sponsoring this event is a profound belief in the fact that something that Margaret Mead said a long time ago, which is to never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. And indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. So as we start today and as we think about getting together today, Accenture is a large global company, right? We have been focused. We're 800,000 people across the globe. Many of our clients are in the room. We've been working on issues of technology and transformation related to technology for years and decades. So why be here and why be here now? And why start this journey 3+ years ago? Well, first of all, we like to bet on winners. And Notre Dame is a group of winners, and we, as was mentioned, Nitesh and Father John and the broader board and its support for moving from just talking about doing things to actually doing things and driving results and action really does make a material difference. The other reason that it's important that we are here and that we wanted to fund this initiative is about the criticality of data and AI moving forward to our society. And Notre Dame is a place where that discussion can be held. We have invested nearly $3 billion over the last couple of years in AI and in generative AI. We have with us our global responsible AI lead, who is my colleague and also part of our global management committee, Arnab Chakraborty, who will also be doing a presentation later on in the conference. The reason we're both here and the reason that what we bring to the table, working now with over 6,000 projects in generative AI across the globe, is a perspective of just how rapidly this is changing the game. And when you couple it with other emerging technologies like quantum computing, the game and disruption is going to continue to happen even faster as we go forward. And so as we gather together today, I think it's important that we do pause and we think about why this time, why this moment, why this place. First, as was mentioned by the provost and Nitesh earlier, one of the things that I say all the time when I go and I meet with clients is that partnership is the new leadership. Partnership is the new leadership, right? There's nothing, especially with how fast disruption is coming all across so many of our sectors, whether it's politics or it's social or it's economic or it's technological or otherwise, change and disruption are happening too fast. We do a study which shows in 5-year increments how much disruption is taking place across the globe. And what it has shown is that in the last 5 years, compared to the prior 5 years, disruption is up 400% across a number of different indicators. Any one of our enterprises, any one of our institutions that we are representing here today can't go and navigate all of that change, all of that disruption, all of that pace of in need of talent alone moving forward. And so it's increasingly important that we think about partnership as the new leadership, and we think about it, as Provost McGreevy said, partnership across sectors, across disciplines, and in particular, also partnership that is across folks that are coming with different backgrounds. The second reason that this gathering is particularly important, and especially as we look around the room today, we didn't envision 3 years ago that this would become as international as it's become and as rapidly as that has happened. We didn't envision just how inclusive this conference would become and its stressing of inclusivity moving forward. And as I was preparing to talk to everyone today, one of the things that kept coming back to me was my dad. And I kept trying to think of something else, but Dad kept popping back in my head. I kept wondering why, and then finally I figured out, well, I'm just gonna have to go with it and figure out where it takes me. And one of the reasons I think Pop was on my mind is my dad also was a Notre Dame graduate. And my dad is a story and was a story of inclusion. He was one of the first African Americans to go to the University of Notre Dame. He came here in 1951 before Brown versus the Board of Education. As he broke down barriers here, he would go home after graduating to the city of Philadelphia. The presumption was, the prevailing wisdom was, that he would go to Temple Med School and he would go and work at the Black Hospital in North and West Philadelphia called Mercy Douglas Hospital. But Notre Dame is a place where values inform scholarship, and scholarship leads to service. And Notre Dame is a place where once you are part of this family, you get a chance to be lifted up by others. And so when he went back to Philadelphia, a young nun in the suburbs of Philadelphia heard about this young Notre Dame graduate. And she decided she was going to take a chance on this individual after doing due diligence. And she was going to have him integrate the suburban hospitals all around Philadelphia. She chose him carefully, and she gave him visiting privileges at Sacred Heart Hospital in Norristown, Pennsylvania. The public hospital next door was so ashamed of the fact that they didn't grant visiting privileges to Black doctors that they matched that and did the same thing and gave him that opportunity as well. And so he would move from Philadelphia out to the suburbs, and it actually was harder to find a home than it was to find the job because no one would sell to us. But that journey, the reason I share it with you is that decision of inclusion by Notre Dame, that decision of inclusion by Sacred Heart Hospital and Montgomery Hospital would eventually lead to the fact that my dad would create the #1 family practice residency program in the country while at Montgomery Hospital. So that bet on inclusion was really a bet on excellence, was really a bet on abundance, was really a bet on potentiality. And that when we are inclusive, all boats rise. The third and final reason that it's important for all of us to gather here today and to be here today really is that this is a moment. This is a moment where collectively we all have to have the courage to say, you know what? despite what we might see in our politics, despite what we might see in the broader society, we have to say that ethics matter. We have to say it and say it loudly. And we have to say that we have the courage to make sure that technology cannot advance unless it is uplifting humanity and human dignity. That is our challenge. That's what we have to be courageous to be about. And so together, as we kick off the conference, I am reminded of something Dr. King was fond of saying, which is that we are now faced with the fact that tomorrow is today. And though we may prefer it otherwise, we must indeed choose. We must indeed choose. And so together, let us choose humanity plus technology. Let us choose technology in an era of AI that actually makes humans even more important. Let us choose the idea that we can all rise together. Let us choose values and ethics. Let us choose to rise. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was heart-lifting, emotional, inspirational. I'm sure there were some tears flowing down as you were talking, Marty, and thank you. Thank you so much, not only for sharing your thoughts, perspectives of where we should go, but sharing a deeply personal story as well. So really grateful. And I would now like to invite another dear friend of mine, Tracy Graham, who's the founder and managing principal of Graham Allen Partners, a private equity firm that specializes in investing in and building technology and technology-enabled companies. And he leverages his long history and successful history of successfully acquiring and operating businesses to provide strategic and operational support to a growing portfolio of small and middle market companies. And he's currently focused on how AI and analytics can be leveraged to help companies evolve via digital transformation. He received his Bachelor's of Arts degree from Notre Dame. He played football with Lou Holtz as well. And he's been really, Tracy and I got to know each other about 14 years ago, Tracy. And as we were starting our journey with founding Analytics together, and he sees it, right? He knows where data AI tech will go and is bold. And is bold in his vision, bold in his investments, and also, you know, I always appreciate the heated conversations about data AI we have gotten into. Folks who have been in the room know what happens when we are in the room together talking. So Tracy, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your perspective. And I should also add that Tracy also serves on the board of trustees of Notre Dame, as well as many other board commitments throughout the city of South Bend and beyond. So he's an amazing community leader, in addition to committing to the data AI tech movement in South Bend, Indiana. Tracy, thank you.
Wow, I should have just let you keep talking. That's much better than I'm going to do. I often wonder, Natasha and I go way back. Like he said, 14 years, and I think, and so Natasha's always been a dear friend to me, and I want to thank you for having me here today. I am just so impressed with this conference and the effort and energy that you bring to literally everything you do. I'll talk a little bit later about the company Natasha and I founded together, a very successful company where some of our colleagues are in the room. Don't sit down in your seat, Julie. She's doing that. I'm literally honored to be surrounded by all of these innovators from, I heard the stats Natasha laid out earlier, 16 different countries, people who are fundamentally shaping the future of artificial intelligence. And it is my passion I can tell you that coming sort of from where I'm from, I grew up in Chicago in a little area a neighborhood called Inglewood, which is a very, very hard and not so good area. The University of Notre Dame gave me opportunity. And so I'm extremely passionate about making sure that this thing called AI gives opportunity to everyone. But I'm going to begin with a very simple statement. We are living through one of the most significant transformations in modern history. For decades, we have talked about how AI might transform business, transform the world, medicine, energy, all the things that we all talk about today. But I believe that today, that transformation is no longer theoretical. It is real. And it's real whether or not we ever reach what most people are investing in today, which is trying to get to artificial general intelligence, or ASI, artificial superintelligence. I actually don't think for the overwhelming majority of people that it matters if we achieve that or not. The capabilities of AI today are going to and are affecting the lives of real people. Ask me how I know. My job, literally what I do every day, what I'm passionate about is finding things that most people overlook. Literally, that's what we do. That's how we drive value. Things that you walk past and we come right behind you and pick it up because you didn't see value in that. Data is one of those things. I started our thesis with a very simple question. If data is so important, why isn't it on the balance sheet? A very simple question. You can read a balance sheet of any company. And then I would ask, and I literally would go around, and Natasha and I would talk about it and argue about it. And I would say very clearly, where is it on the balance sheet? And then I would say, hey, if I took all your data, what would happen? And every person would say, well, we'd be out of business. What do you mean, take all my data? Oh, I said, so that's pretty valuable, right? But yet, when you do an acquisition or acquire a business, there's no value given to the data. So, of course, we built a thesis around acquiring businesses and associating value to data. We built a company called Analytics. Natasha and I, with a few of our colleagues, we started with 3 people. We have over 350 today. We started with 0 revenue. By the end of this year, we'll have over 100 million today. We hope to be and expect later next year to be one of the first companies, or in the first quarter of 2027, to be one of the first companies, tech companies, in our region to file for public offering. Those are pretty bold things, and most of them started because of our partnership, business and the technology and ethics right here at the University of Notre Dame. And people would ask, why did you stay in South Bend? Now, I graduated in 1995. We started this company in 2011, so there was about 16 years where I was here. And I can tell you, I always made an excuse. Someone would say, I came in 91 for my freshman year. Someone would say, hey, what are you doing in South Bend, Indiana? Oh, yeah, I'm a student at Notre Dame. Then in 1995, I graduated, and I ended up staying here. I thought I was going to be a teacher. I spent a year studying, getting my master's in education or working towards my master's, and then I started this business. And then people would say after that, hey, why'd you stay in South Bend? I would say, oh, yeah, I got this business. It was a business. I have to stay here because I started a company here and so on, and I would do that. And then eventually, when I got around to analytics and I started working with Natasha, it became so evident that the reason that I was staying in South Bend is because we have a real competitive advantage. Now, a big part of that competitive advantage is the University of Notre Dame. There's no doubt about it. I say to people in our community all the time, we should be cheering outside of Father John's door first, and now Father Dowd's door, outside of their doors, because of what they've done to help build this community and connect us to business in this community. R.I.S.E is just another example of the many things that the University of Notre Dame has stepped into and tried to lead on issues that matter most. This community was one of those issues. So to make AI work in the business world, we believe you need a few things. First, you need data. We think it's the most important component of AI, and we don't think you have actually seen the real value of data, because today, what you see today is large language models, and you see power and energy and data centers and NVIDIA chips. All of you see that on a regular basis, and that's where we are, building the foundation. But ultimately, we believe what will distinguish a model from the other is the underlying proprietary data that ultimately drives the ability of that model to perform as well as it should. We believe that's the value, and connecting that is what Nitesh and I did here at Notre Dame. We also believe that those models are smart, extremely smart. But I am super concerned with the few things that I think R.I.S.E will help us deal with. First, as I said, I'm in business. Part of what we talk about very openly is expanding margin. We talk about being more efficient. Most of the use cases that you see today in the world are driven or focused on driving efficiency. And I'm going to be extremely honest. That really means figuring out ways, in some cases, in most cases, to have less people doing some of the repetitive work that people are getting paid to do today. That scares me, because those people have children. They come to work and pay for college and school and sports and all the things they do. And I'm concerned that they are overlooking the importance of this technology and the impact of this technology on their specific jobs. I'm in it every day. I'm in the boardrooms. I'm buying the companies. We are analyzing them. We have a full team of people who do that. And part of that analysis is focused on driving higher margins in those companies, which ultimately make them more valuable. The second thing I'm concerned with is that if you are training models on current data, then it is extremely likely that the same biases that exist in the current data will come through in those trained models. That's a challenge. How do we deal with that? I hope, and I'm sure from my conversations with you, Nitesh, that R.I.S.E will look to try to address and educate us on those types of issues. So there are big concerns. With all the opportunity of AI, there are critical concerns that we have to address. And that's why I think R.I.S.E is so important. Quite honestly, we don't, in the business world, get up every day and think about these specific things that R.I.S.E is trying to address. And that's why, Marty, it's so important that you continue to partner with those people who have expertise, who have mission, who believe that these are the things that are also important, and that this technology goes well beyond the financial benefits that may come from doing it. So, again, I'll go back to South Bend, because I want to hammer this home. I mean, I'm telling you, I know you guys come from all over the world, and Nitesh made a joke about needing excitement, and coming from Toronto, so he moved to South Bend. And I'm going to give you the honest truth. Here's the truth. We're building. There's opportunity here. The University of Notre Dame has stepped up in ways that really, I think, we could never have imagined as a community. I'm grateful for it because Notre Dame has really helped me at every step of the way. I just talked about being from Inglewood and growing up in a pretty impoverished situation to partnering with one of the preeminent AI professors in the world and building a company that we may take public in the next year or so. That is not possible without the University of Notre Dame. No way. Partnering with businesses and people in our community, partnering with all of you. South Bend has other advantages. I believe that almost every small business that needs to start, one of the most important things you need is customers. We have a lot of lower middle market businesses that are willing to cooperate and be customers for us as we innovate and do things like AI. South Bend has been great for that. I think when people talk about you'll hear a lot of people talk about, well, we're 90 miles away from Chicago, right? And that will be a selling point, if you will. This may be a little crude, but I joke with my wife when somebody says that. I said, that's like saying, you should date me because I'm really close to the guy you want to date. I don't think that's a big selling point at all. What I will say is this, that when we want to get something done, Notre Dame can convene all the right people to help get it done. They can call the few or sometimes many people in a region and get them together in a room like this, and that allows us to move quickly. Nitesh talked about moving fast, putting this whole conference together. I know most of you have experience or work within academic institutions, and my time on the board, and I've learned a few things that you can't bring your business way of thinking, like we can go right away into the academic environment. Things take a little bit more time, and I think Notre Dame moves quicker than most. And so I think when you think about why we would stay here in South Bend, I would tell you we have the people we need because I don't know what the percentage of our people are that graduated from Notre Dame, but I bet it's over 50% of our total people who are local who graduated from Notre Dame. Certainly our data science team, those people who are graduates of the university. So we have all the talent we need. We continue to get better at that as Notre Dame brings more and more professors and and builds its research capacity. That's been a huge thing for us at Notre Dame. So South Bend has a lot to offer, but quite honestly, in my view, Notre Dame is its core. And I'm comfortable saying that. I'm from the community, I'm from Notre Dame, and I preach to every person, whether you went to this university or not, you should be happy to say that. That's a positive thing. We do have our people in the community who say, oh, we're always talking about Notre Dame. And then I go down the list of things that it's like, okay, we're doing that for a good reason. And Notre Dame has earned that. So I want to have just a quick moment because I think this ties with R.I.S.E. And this gets to the mission of our business, of what we're really trying to do. We want to transform lives. And that's not just because it sounds good to say, but it's because as its founder, my life was genuinely transformed. As many of the people in this room know, I am the son of a single mother who never finished 8th grade. She had her first kid at 15 years old. By 23 years old, she had 4 kids, me. I was the last of those 4. We grew up in a house that often didn't have heat. My sister had her first child at 16 years old. We had, in effect, generational issues, pregnancy, economic issues, and things of that nature. My life was transformed by this place that you sit today. Fundamentally transformed. So the mission of this place, to be a force for good in the world, means something to me. And it informs my mission to help transform lives, just as this university has done for me. So when I'm in the thick of, or the heart of, people implementing a technology that has the potential to do so much good, but yet has that potential to do some harm, it's important that we are a part of putting the safeguards in place to make sure that that doesn't happen. The mission of transforming lives relative to AI and its impact cannot happen without R.I.S.E. and organizations like it. It will not happen because I have caught our own company in some respects. In our meetings, this is real, where we are talking about AI in such a way, and the human element of it, when you start to think about all the things you can do and how you can do something that in one of our businesses, we do medical coding. And the conversation is, well, we pay $90,000 for a medical coder a year is about the cost of a medical coder. And they can do 50 codes of claims a day, 250 a week. And with AI now, we can do close to 10,000 a week. That's real. And so where do we get the humanity, the ethics, the safety of making sure we don't run away and do things that's harmful to people? And like almost everything that we talk about here at Notre Dame, it comes back to mission. Knowing who you are, knowing what you're trying to achieve. The work that you do, the conversations that you're having are critical to making sure that regular people, real people, are not harmed by this technology. And yet, we benefit from all the positive opportunities that it gives. So Natasha asked me to say a little bit about what I thought about the future. Where are we going? Right? Most of you will probably disagree with me. Natasha said, he said, I'm a contrarian, and I often am. And we argue about these things. In fact, we had lunch today and very quickly got into one of our normal debates. And that's fine, and that's how we learn from one another. But I believe that today, all the investment we're making in infrastructure and all of those things is to get the 1 or 2% more of benefit in a large language model. Now, most people would say you're making the investment so you can get to super intelligence or general intelligence. And then I ask all of you, how many businesses, how many people really need super intelligence, superhuman intelligence, as it's called? I believe the future is more in the data, and I always have. From the very beginning, 10, 11 years ago when we started the company, I believed that the ultimate value will be in how you curate and enrich data. That it won't be specifically, I'm not saying we use large language models in everything we do, but I just believe that the incremental benefit that you're getting from doing a $100 million pre-training run, I'm not sure that that benefit is going to pay off in the long run. So I have a bit of a contrarian view to what everybody else believes. I believe in NVIDIA, but I believe infrastructure is being overbuilt right now. I believe that large language models are important and generative AI and so on, it's great. But I also believe that we are going to have a problem with energy, and a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money because of all the investment we're making in big data centers that ultimately some, not all, some will go unused. I believe that has economic consequences that ultimately will drive businesses and people implementing AI to be more aggressive in their reduction of labor costs specifically. So I see a future that might be a bit different than most people see. I understand that every government has to continue to invest in superhuman intelligence because they can't let the other government get access to it without them getting access to it. I also understand that Merck and Pfizer and all of those companies who are in the drug development business could not allow someone else to get access to a technology that could help them cure cancer, and they don't have access. So I believe they're in this loop of investment. But I think the overwhelming majority of the people that we represent, the local business, who just wants to be more efficient, the local bank who wants to stay connected to Chase or stay on pace with Chase in their community. I don't believe that those people are the ones who benefit from the massive investments that we get. And I'm particularly concerned with the cost of infrastructure today and how that impacts research departments like those, like the University of Notre Dame. I don't know how you can keep up with it when the cost of GPUs and compute and power and cooling and all of these things are making it very, very difficult for you to have cutting edge technology to provide to your researchers. So those are all the things that I believe we have to address in the future. And I believe that R.I.S.E is a great organization and is poised to address those things. I believe that the work that Nitesh and his team, I love how you honored your team today. That was fascinating and just everything that I know you to be, a gentleman, but an arguer. I promise you guys, an arguer. Anyway, hey, let's have a great conference. I appreciate Nitesh and Father John and Marty and all of you guys. And I believe that AI is a very positive thing, but we need you to make sure that some of us business people don't go off the rails. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tracy. And as he was leaving, he said, I went too long, didn't I? And for those who have known Tracy and his very endearing attributes, it's okay, Tracy. We love you. And thank you again. And again, I'm really grateful to both you and Marty to bring in your own personal story about inclusivity and inclusion, that what has transformed lives individually for you, your families, and the generational shift. And you really set the stage for our next keynote talk by our dear friends Robyn, Kress, and Dr. Stacy Garrett-Ray from Ascension. And they will sort of together explore how strategic investment and deep community partnerships can fundamentally transform health outcomes across the nation. As I said, I'm grateful to be hosting Robyn and Stacy here. And first, I'll introduce Robyn. She's the leader who established the Ascension Foundation in 2021. And she has brought more than 20 years of nationally sought-after philanthropy expertise to bear on some of the most entrenched problems in U.S. healthcare. She has inspired high-level giving for $1 billion plus campaigns at organizations like Harvard Business School, Duke, and the Smithsonian Institute. And today she drives the foundation's critical work to stem the maternal mortality crisis, to inspire young kids to love science, and build a strong future healthcare workforce. Joining Robyn would be Dr. Stacy Garrett-Ray. Dr. Garrett-Ray is a Senior Vice President and Chief Community Impact Officer for Ascension nationally. She's a board-certified family physician, and her career has been dedicated to advancing health equity. She brings a wealth of experience through her work at the University of Maryland Medical System, where she led population health and clinically integrated networks, and her amazing service and distinguished service as a national leader at VHA, where she focused on healthcare transformation. And I'm also very, it's been an it's been an hour of deep gratitude to friendships, to everyone who has spoken before, and thank you to your friendships as well, Robyn and Stacy, for believing in what we are doing at the Lucy Family Institute. They've also given a sizable research grant to the Institute to partner with them on their stellar initiative, which we'll talk about today, #goals. Everything must have a great acronym. And I think they get the Oscar, the Emmys, the Grammys, and everything else for the great acronym. It's Go Out and Love Science. And they'll share a bit more about their work. And thank you again to both of you for your friendship and your partnership over the years. Please.
Thank you. I'm just going to open my water briefly. So good afternoon, everyone. As mentioned, my name is Stacy Garrett-Ray, and I serve as our Chief Community Impact Officer for Ascension. So today, and those are our pictures before, but today I just want to really start with a question, and I feel like the speakers that we had most recently just before us actually helped to share and tee us up very well. So I'm asking all of us, as we think about the next couple of days working together in partnerships, how do we build the future we want to see? Now, that's not an easy question for us to answer, but I ask that we think about that and be very intentional to be able to envision what that is, because that will actually impact our partnerships that we create, the actions that we take, and who we are working alongside with our journey. I want to give you a little bit of background about our ministry with Ascension. So Ascension is one of the largest nonprofit healthcare, Catholic health systems in the United States. We have almost 100,000 associates, 23,000 aligned providers that work with us, and collectively almost 125 hospitals, as well as senior living facilities in which we serve. This is just showing where we are located currently. So in the teal or sea mist color, depending on what you like to call it, this is where our current presence is. And we have the opportunity, and we're very blessed to serve about 5.2 million unique patients alone in the last fiscal year. And so with that equated to almost 12 million unique visits to our physicians and clinics just in FY25 alone. I want to break that down a little bit, because what we're going to be talking about today is about the inclusion. And I think, one of the other things I want to really stress, hopefully that you'll hear, is that we are at a critical point together. This is the time to disrupt. We have many disruptors that are impacting us, but now more than ever, I think we are all facing challenges that we see in the communities in which we serve. Specifically for those who have Medicaid and those who are uninsured, those who are marginalized. Within Ascension, we currently serve 1 million plus individuals who have Medicaid and uninsured, and that was in FY25 alone. And we're anticipating that call is going to be greater over time. So I want us to step back a little bit, and let's just go through. I know this crew already knows a lot of this, but I want us to talk about what really is going to impact the outcomes of those that we serve in the future. And today, 20% of our health outcomes are impacted by access to care and the quality of care that is given. So imagine what's going to happen when access is impacted for those most in need. I want us to think about the fact that 80% of the health outcomes that we are thinking about each and every day that are important for us, about where we work, play, and pray, they're impacted by those social drivers. So how are we going to create a change to think about the socioeconomic factors that impact each of us, which is a large portion? or the physical environments in which we live and how that can impact our daily lives each and every day, or our health behaviors that also affect how we're able to come for our families and our coworkers within our communities. 50% of those social drivers are traced back to our zip codes, where we work, play, and pray. That is a data element. That is something that we have to think about. So it's not only that we have data that someone has brought to us or that we are able to ask a question when someone is coming to our doors, but how do we start to understand the communities in which we live, in which we serve, to better create the impact that is necessary. We are in a ministry where we say we have a healing ministry. And in order to heal, that means you have to understand the whole person. You have to understand that there are significant shifts that are also impacting the delivery of care each and every day. I know the gentleman Marty had brought up earlier, just about in the past 5 years, we have seen significant changes within our nation. And so when you think about that, less people are going inpatient, more people are thinking about ambulatory and virtual care. There's increasing economic pressures as well as financial need. How many of us have gone to the grocery store? And I mean, I will tell you, I was there on Sunday and I picked up a bag, or yesterday, and I was like, that's it? That's it? You know, did you miss a bag? And she said, no, ma'am, that's it. Well, I feel fortunate I can actually pick that bag up. But there are many people that cannot. So when we see that we're having increasing social drivers and needs, such as food, housing instability, as well as health and employment as being a challenge, it's affecting those who are marginalized at a greater level than ever. So I put that question out to us about the future that we all want to see together. Are you seeing everyone being brought up? Are you seeing a space that is inclusive? And are you seeing one where we're all coming together to create a change? Those are the questions that I hope are going to be answered this week at R.I.S.E, that we can collectively come up with solutions. So I want to just go through, if anyone knows, I always bring this slide out. This is really my stream slide. And so in order for us all to think about this, I want us to just put out there, think about, at least in a healthcare system, we think about providing clinical care. And that's probably what we frame as the downstream, the medical interventions, patients coming to the room. But how are we starting to think about, again, addressing the whole person and addressing their individual as well as social needs? It requires screening and asking the question. It requires also providing that direct patient support that's necessary. Now let's move upstream. And let's also think about those improved community conditions that are necessary for all of us to be able to not just survive, but thrive. Those are our investments. We mentioned our partnerships, our advocacy, thinking about laws, policies, as well as regulations, in addition to economic equity. So when we talk about where we are today, all of us in this room, those who are from the United States, and I know we've got many people who are not, you probably know a lot of things that are facing us each and every day, and one of them is our new legislation. And I bring this up because it is a disruptor for us in healthcare. And I have to say, I actually like disruption, okay? I can't say I always like the laws that create them, but I appreciate the disruption right now because it's making us pay attention as an organization about who we're leaving behind. It's making us pause to say, this is a priority because this is who we are, this is what we live in, this is our mission, and this is our vision to ensure that all have health care and access. Some of the key implications that are going to be really the challenge that all of us need to think about collectively is the fact that there will be an increase in our uninsured patients. There will be setbacks for some of the most vulnerable, as well as potential reductions in funding to support some of our future workforce. 7 million people and patients on Medicaid could lose care. So what does that mean for health systems? It means that marginalized populations that we are called to support, which includes addressing not only the new work requirements for us to know about, but also thinking about the incentives that get impacted by Medicaid expansion, or the burden that this could potentially create for patients, and also additional cuts that we are anticipating that we'll see in certain programs that are supporting those where we work, play, and pray. It means that there's also going to be an impact in the access to care for all as we know it traditionally. So again, I ask you to think about the future you would like to see. I'm also going to throw something else out there. Why not be the person to make everybody smile today, right? That's my job. But I promise you, we have smiles to share. But one of the other things I want everyone to think about is the projected physician shortage. We're anticipating that by 2034, it'll be up to 124,000 physicians. 124,000. So the potential impact that that has on us is that it could affect access to care. It could also mean an impact on our health outcomes for those that we serve. It can affect consumer experience, as well as increase physician burnout. So, I have another question for you. How can we systematically improve health outcomes for individuals and communities now and in the future? And I'm hoping that you're thinking about AI. If not, you're at the wrong conference, okay? Just gonna tell you right now, you're at the wrong one. So I'm going to share with you just our approach, and Robyn and I will talk, tag team on a few things. But our approach to this challenge is that we have to really invest our time, talent, and treasure in two areas. One, how do we increase access to care? And then how do we invest in the future workforce? How do you think outside of the box on these two things? That's what keeps us up every day to be able to work on that. It's the downstream and upstream approach that we're looking at. So here's just the patient's journey. This is just a schematic, a graphic for you to think about. And just the way that we've been approaching this is that when you think about how we enter our healthcare system, we would love for it to be a primary care. But many who are marginalized are using our EDs for things that are preventable, and that is their front door. So organizationally, this is where we have really focused our time, is how can we transform the delivery of care to think about the support in a holistic manner? How do we think about those non-clinical needs? How are we looking at guiding and navigation? And then also, how do we think about clinical care as well as pharmacy attachment? We've started to work on this and actually have consumer experience doing friction mapping for us in addition to focus groups, so we can have the voice of the community in addition to our community health needs assessments. The way that our approach has been is that it's not just data. We are data-driven and community-informed in everything that we do. That's where you make great impact. If we don't create change in the way that we're approaching it, then we're lighting a candle. So this quote, which I love, is that the electric light did not come from the continuous improvement of candles, right? It didn't. Light was provided, but it's when you start to step back and think about things in a different manner and know that you have to create a better solution, that's when we have the brightest impact. So I challenge all of us here to continue to think about the fact that, are you lighting a candle? Or are you creating electricity? I love electricity. So just briefly, I know we're talking about AI, but AI truly is reshaping not only what we do, but how we do. And those areas are not only in the clinical care that we provide and the quality and safety, but it's enriching our associate experience. I remember sitting in this room about 2 years ago when I first came, and the question was out there, do you think that AI is going to be beneficial to our society in the future? It was about that. You remember that question? And ask for people to raise their hands if you did. My hand was like this, okay? It wasn't all the way up. But I'm going to tell you that my hand is here. And it has changed over time because I can see that there is opportunity and potential for us to change the delivery of care, and we've done some things that we'll talk about. It has accelerated our operational processes. It has also allowed us to be able to personalize consumer experience and think about how those engagements help to make sure that everyone feels included. So my hand is raised high because I do see what we're doing in this area, even with our predictive analytics and action. Our Ascension Data Science Institute is just been amazing, and we have a representative here from our R.I.S.E team. As an organization, we have collected over 4 million SDOH surveys that were completed in the past 5 years. And 421 of those surveys indicated that there was at least one risk factor. Now that's the candle, right? You collect the data, but now what? And so with the work of our R.I.S.E team, we were really looking at that correlation between SDOH risk and ED visits. As I mentioned about the front door, one of the things that we see are many people are coming to our front doors for things that are preventable. So we're trying to make sure we're helping to provide the right care, right place, and the right time for those that we serve. So with this, we were able to really look at what is the relative impact of the individual needs. And so with all of the questions that are provided, you'll see that we do talk about the impact of food and feeling unsafe, et cetera, and housing. Social connection is critical. The team also looked at ED prevalence, so that helped to drive some of what we were seeing as well and correlating that with SDOH risk. So the team came back a couple of years ago and said, listen, with all of this data, what are we going to do differently? How are we going to create change? And so we were able to create a proprietary SDOH or a social risk index. And Dr. Shockley and Aaron Shockley and Ashlyn Jones from our teams were the ones who said, listen, I think we can make this provide us with actionable insights for our team so we can touch patients before they even come to our doors. And if they are to our doors, how are we going to help to ensure that our team members are not just getting a list, but how can they start to stratify and touch those that we know we can make the greatest impact now? So we were able to launch this survey, and the score really does bring attention to risk, but also prioritizes for our team members who we need to be able to touch first. Layering that on with readmissions risk scores, that also is allowing our teams to create efficiency, but it's bigger than efficiency, it's about impact. How many of you, if you haven't, but you've had a family member go into a hospital recently? A lot of people, right? It's not easy. And usually we don't have a case manager for every room, right? It's a limited team. They're strong and mighty. But this tool is helping them to be able to create the change that families need for their loved ones to get the care so that they are coming to us appropriately when it's their time. Have you ever gotten that call after someone's gotten discharged and then at least it's been apparent for me that they need to go back? This is actually helping us to be able to eliminate that even more for them. So it's creating the change that we like to see, and it's something we're tracking over time so we can make some actionable insights and investments in the care that we serve. So I've shared with you about how we're doubling down on some areas, right? It's thinking about the stream, it's how we're advancing our health outcomes, but the other part is how we plant seeds to invest in the future. How are we going to approach the physician shortage that we see, or the shortage in healthcare moving forward? So this is just the journey to becoming a physician. And I would say my parents would say it's not, I have long on here, or we have long. They would say it's long. But many of us, we start with really thinking about the last two areas to really invest, right? You think about that's where you're going to be focusing. It's either during like your undergraduate time, medical school. We're thinking about this differently. So we are actually investing, yes, in the undergraduate place, but the thing is, we're doing that with the partners, but we're trying to look as upstream as possible in middle school. That's where you think about the electricity. That's where you think about really instilling in kids that ability for them to visualize themselves in these careers and telling them that they can. These are the aha moments that we are creating in a place of like real life as well as in a virtual world. So I'm really excited to be able to hand this over to Robyn, who's going to share why middle school.
Thank you, everyone. It's so great to be with you and also to be with my exceptional partner here. And I know some of you aren't from the United States. So middle school is what we call sort of ages 11 through 14, if that's not something that you're familiar with. And so as Stacy said, we go to middle school because this is an age where people start to imagine who they might be. You sort of get past these kind of immediate needs and you start to look for role models to decide who you might be and where you might go with your life. And, you know, we see a lot of things with kids, you know, astronaut or a famous rock star or, you know, a podcaster or a basketball player. But wouldn't it be great if, you know, this was one of the heroes that you wanted to be when you were this age? And I recognize one of the people in that picture. She is one of my heroes. So, but also at this time and through research, we have learned that middle school is a time where you do dream big, but it's also a time where a lot of people tell you what you can't do. It's a message that you get from your peers or from your family because they haven't been exposed to these things. And a lot of the physicians that I've spoken to, especially physicians with less traditional educational paths, have told me that they became a physician in spite of what people told them they were capable of doing. And so as the leader of the Ascension Foundation, we have the opportunity to invest in long-term systemic change. In our emergency rooms, we have to treat people immediately. There is something that needs to be solved immediately. The foundation at Ascension is a vehicle by which we can take a longer-term bet, and we can sort of work with things over time and iterate to really make systemic change. And so we thought, what if, rather than people having to overcome negativity to think about pursuing one of these careers, what if we flip it? What if we create extreme positivity? What would that be like? And so we created a program called #Goals, and it stands for Go Out and Love Science. And it is in person, and it's loud, and it's in your face, and it's fun, and it's celebrating this time of your life, and it's introducing you to people and role models who are being straight with you, being real about what it takes, but also letting you know that you can really do this. So if you sort of picture what a day is like, we take, in a single day, we take about 300 students. We have 11 interactive activities, and we do sort of a 3-on-1 ratio with the volunteers. And so students interact with so many adults and so many medical students who are cheering for them, learning who they are personally, and really helping them to see how smart they are, how relevant they are, that we need an inclusive workforce so that everyone is represented, and that we really see trust of your physician means that somebody might know the circumstances that you came from. They might know your neighborhood, they might know your language, they might know something that when you walk in, you feel seen and heard and cared for, and we have to build that pipeline. We have started, our foundation is only 4 years old, and it was really a result of Ascension realizing we needed another vehicle to reach people. We provide excellent healthcare, but we needed one more way to get out in the community, invest differently to really fulfill our mission. We're starting with some of the cities where there can be some of the most under-resourced neighborhoods where students don't have the inspiration that some of the other students in our country are exposed to. These are also places where Ascension has a strong reputation. And as you know, when you start anything, you have to begin where you have the right partners. But you can just picture New Orleans, Baltimore, Nashville, Detroit. These are places where you need kids to get inspired, to see something different, and to know that they are included. And so we're going to show you something in a minute, but we make the student the hero for the day, and you get to actually try dentistry. You get to scrub in and go into an operating room. When you get in there, there's a big old game of operation, that we played when we were kids, but you learn the process of going in and really what it takes to concentrate in that kind of environment. You learn to draw blood. It's actually Kool-Aid, but you know, and I actually can't get near that thing because it looks a little too real, but but you become the hero of the day, and there are physicians and medical students working with you. Elephant toothpaste, chemistry. Nitesh was in Nashville with us a year ago. We couldn't get him out of the chemistry lab. He wanted it to explode even more. But we also, we have a disco CPR room where you walk in and it's a disco light hanging. It's dance party music, but you learn the beat by which you can resuscitate a loved one, and so really kind of flipping it so that you learn in a different way, in a way that sort of relates to the senses of a child that age. And so we've done a good job of surveying kids at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. And we're so proud to say that at the end of the day, we tend to have kids be 49%, that's been our average score, more interested in a career in healthcare, dentistry, or research. And that's a huge move, beginning of the day, end of the day. The other stat that kind of surprised the team was the needle really changes in I see myself going to college. So forget being a physician. You now are aware that you are smart, you are seen, and you are someone who can have big goals. You can go to college. And that's huge. That's a huge impact. But I've done philanthropy for a while, and the thing about philanthropy is adults can get very excited about something. It can feel good to everybody. It can be high energy in the moment, and it can be an incredible photo op. But is it working? Is it actually working? Is it actually changing things over time? And so we've been so lucky to be here at Notre Dame for different meetings and meeting the faculty here, and over time talk to some of our friends, starting with Nitesh, and saying, this is such a kind of vulnerable age group. We think we're making an impact. We don't know, and we want to change what we're doing if we're wrong. How do you study a group of kids like this safely? How do you do it authentically? How do you make sure that if we're investing this money that we're really doing the needle and moving the needle, and that we shouldn't be doing something else? And Nitesh said, let's figure it out. Let's really look at it and figure out. This is data and society. How do we do this? And so I can't tell you how much we needed to find a partner really committed to this approach for using data for good. This could be a dangerous age group, and it was so important to find people who shared these values, really anchored in the Catholic tradition, human dignity, safety, all of the things that we all talk about. It had to be peer-reviewed, replicable, and so we're not studying this just for us. This is a difficult age group to study, so we need to get this published so that other people working in this area can really get this information. And obviously dedicated to everything that we have said that R.I.S.E stands for. And so a quick film with a few people you might recognize.
Welcome to middle school. This is what middle school kids are doing now, but in 10 years, they'll be in the workforce, and too few of them are setting their sights on a healthcare career. So the Ascension Foundation set out to find an exciting, novel approach to help more kids imagine themselves as pediatricians, EMTs, and other medical professionals.
Not enough students are aware that careers in healthcare are available to them. And we've traced it back to middle school. We want you to know that this is a career path you can pursue. We have developed a really exciting middle school program that we call #Goals.
Too many children are being left out of the medical careers pipeline. In fact, sometimes they're actively discouraged from believing they can pursue these kinds of careers. The #Goals program aims to flip that by taking kids out of their normal routines and providing fun, hands-on ways to help them see all the careers that are possible. It lets them picture a future where they're role models, change makers, and a source of pride in their neighborhoods. But while an event like #Goals can spark interest, is one day, once a year, truly enough to keep that spark alive? To find out, we partnered with the Lucy Family Institute for Data and Society at the University of Notre Dame. And because we know that this age group is tough to study, we needed to meet them where they are. So where are they?
I like to play online games, especially Roblox.
Play Roblox.
I like to play Roblox.
We are trying to ask them questions and get their feedback on what is #Goals programs to you. And they usually want to give you an answer what you want to hear. And we want to make sure that we don't want those answers, and we want answers something which is coming naturally, flow from them. And we thought maybe it'll be a gamified approach, which is already a comfortable environment for them. What is that game which kids really like and very fond of? And it was the game of Roblox.
When the customers come in and then you cook them their food, the different amount of stars mean like different amounts of money, and then you put your money into your store.
Kids were already playing Roblox, so the Notre Dame team designed a study embedded in a Roblox game to extend the engagement that started at the #Goals event, sustain kids' interest in healthcare careers, and track the event's effectiveness.
Our evaluation study is designed to figure out if #Goals is having an impact on children's decision to go into medical professions.
We've just launched the game, but we're already seeing positive engagement.
Kids do get excited hearing about #Goals. Kids do get excited hearing about Roblox game. So far, the reaction from children really has been very encouraging.
Decades from now, this could be your primary care doctor, your oncology nurse, your grandchild's orthodontist. And when someone asks them, what made you want to get into this career? They'll point back to this in-person event they had in middle school and the game they played for years afterward.
So just a few more slides. this is the back end of Roblox is allowing us to, the way Notre Dame has designed it, it's allowing us to understand not just what students are having fun with, but where they get stuck. And also there are social questions within it, which will really reveal for us what they're facing and some of what they need to overcome. Very wisely, a child's bedroom was created that they can decorate themselves and sort of put their own avatar in it. We tested this in inner city Baltimore, here in South Bend, in Tennessee. We had students say things to us like, I don't have my own room at home. My house is loud. There's a lot of people coming and going. It was such a point of pride to create your own space that's just yours, where you can sort of think about what your goals are and kind of plot your path. There's awards that you win throughout the game, and it's private. This is, the way it's designed, and again, I am not a computer scientist, but by ways that only the students that we've selected are able to get into this world. And they get to meet heroes who look like them, who look like everyone that you kind of meet on the street, and they get to learn, they get to reinforce some of what they've done during the live program. They get to explore more, but they also get to see a little bit of where you can get stuck, and just how many challenges there are when you're working through life. We know it isn't an easy path. Stacy put up the whole path, and so part of what we want to do with this game is help people to see that there are obstacles, but you can overcome them. This is, when we think about what we're capturing, our researchers tell me it will be about 3 terabytes of data with the students that we're studying. And again, I need somebody to make that real for me. And so they said that is the equivalent of 750,000 songs. Enough music to play continuously 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for almost 5 years. And so that is the data that we're collecting about this set. And they are using all of their analyses and AI tools to really make sense of that data in a way that truly, to me, is mind-blowing. And so back to Stacy just for a minute to wrap us up. 2 more slides.
So how many of you want to be part of #goals? Yes. Okay. All right. Well, we had talked about there were 2 challenges in front of us, and that was one about how to increase access to care, and also how can we really transform the workforce of the future. In each of those examples, we're using AI in some form or fashion. But it's really been critical for us as an organization to think about what are some of the ethical imperatives that we have to ensure are put into place. What are the values in ethical AI in particular that we have to ensure are part of anything that we do? And so it's benevolence, malfeasance, and looking at autonomy, justice, as well as explicability. And so those are things that are really fundamental for who we are, but they're centered around those values that we are discussing about how do you create truly person-centered care? How do you create person-centered experiences, even in Roblox, as mentioned, to create your room, to create your home where you have a place where you belong? We are always putting forward what is about common good. And whatever is done, it's about making things better. Not status quo, not the candle, but how do we create things that will be better for all of us, and think about a place of trust. Think about our privacy and confidentiality for our patients as well as our community members, and respect for their autonomy, objectivity, but also the core of everything that we do is human dignity. So I want to bring this quote up. This is Desmond Tutu, who said, "There comes a point when we need to stop pulling people out of the river. We need to go upstream and find out why they're falling in. So we're doubling down and we're going upstream. And we're hoping to have more partners, but we're grateful. I'm telling you, like coming and meeting Nitesh and the Lucy family has been a blessing because we have partners who are working alongside of us. And we're really trying to think about what are those solutions, what are those challenges, what are those barriers in a way so no one is being left behind or falling in. That's our ultimate goal. So I end with this saying, to build the future we want, we must intentionally design the systems that create it. The question is no longer if AI will shape our future, but how. So over the next couple of days, R.I.S.E AI, the challenge is in front of all of us to create the future that we want to see. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Stacy and Robyn. We would invite questions from folks in the room, please. So if you have any questions to ask of them, I believe there's 2 mics there. Please feel free to use them to ask questions. Someone, yes, Lourdes, please.
Thank you for this wonderful, inspired talk. Have you ever thought to expand this outside the U.S.?
I mean, yes, of course. You know, that would certainly be a dream. We are just getting started and want to make sure that we can make this work in our own neighborhoods. But we certainly want this to be as inclusive as possible.
Yeah, I think for us, whatever, and I'm unsure if this is on, but can everyone hear me? Okay. Sure. But I think, you know, one of the key things that Robyn had mentioned too, and why we're working with the Lucy Institute is because we want to make sure we're doing it well. There's the ability to make just like a drop, but we definitely want to ensure that we're making a splash, but it's appropriate, right? That we're not, and all of the things that we're going to be talking about with R.I.S.E AI. But we are looking for partners. I think that could be phase 2. Yes?
Totally. You are signed.
Yes. Yeah. Nitesh says yes, so that means yes.
Lourdes is from the Panamericana University in Mexico City.
Awesome. Gotcha. Yes. Awesome.
And I have an experience with Universidad Panamericana has a lot of institutes that are very, very poor. And we have gone there, and they are in a very, very big need to be inspired, as you say. So that would be very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol.
Hi, I have a question as well. So I'm just curious as what sort of data are you collecting through the game of Roblox, and what preliminary results have you found? And of course, as well, if you are interested in expanding to Chile, we would love to collaborate.
So from Mexico to Chile. She's with the Los Andes University in Chile.
Awesome. So there are lots of different things being studied, and I would encourage the faculty who are working on it are here and will be at the conference all week, so they can speak to it better than I can. So many of the things are about which pieces of the challenges children pursue and some of the feedback they give about what they like, what they don't, and why, and where the stumbling blocks are. Another piece, and it's way too early, it's not publishable, nothing like that, but one of the things we may see, we're not sure, is that there's a group of students saying they want to be a doctor, but then when they're asked if they like science, the answer is no. And so there's some disconnect between those two things, maybe, and that's one of the early things that we've seen. So we'd have to bridge that.
Thank you. I'm just curious about methodologically how you're separating the impact of the program with the game itself, because it seems that the game, it's almost like an intervention in itself. So it's interesting to see how maybe the game has an impact in itself as well.
And that's part of what is being studied. And I will promise you that the faculty on Natash's team can answer this in a much more scientific way than I can, but they're here.
And I promise you that it's the team that can answer, not Nitesh. I'm just making it clear. Yes, please.
So first of all, thank you and kudos for what you're working on. Just back to the data question. So I love that you're looking at the changes in how to make this appeal to the 13-year-olds and the 15-year-olds. But I'm also wondering, are you actually also measuring the impact on the volunteers and the clinicians who are actually, because they may find better purpose, value. You may be able to bring the retired workforce back into working with the children to really make this robust. And if you can show that it actually reduces the moral travesty and burden and stress on the clinicians that volunteer,
I'll let the physician
as
answer
well
that.
as the students, now you've got a double win.
Yeah, and so we have not gone through doing that part. I think our focus for phase one was really just on the students themselves, but just exactly what you mentioned. What we have experienced, and a lot of it is anecdotal, we are doing collection at this point, is that it makes a world of difference when you go in. I think we may get more from it than the students because of the fact that we remember being those students, and to see their excitement, and to have that opportunity to volunteer and serve, it's very rewarding, and so I think that's something we can add in as well.
Yeah, so just to give you a little background, so 2 examples. So for ARP, I was the former chief medical officer at ARP. When they did the Experience Corps, which was taking older adults volunteering to read to 3rd graders, the 3rd graders had better education, better outcome, better careers, et cetera. But when you actually studied the older adults who taught, they felt value in life. They had a sense of purpose, better health, better outcomes that come with that sense of purpose. And there's actually a study that looks at healthcare outcomes. And if you volunteer anywhere from they looked at 61 different risk factors that were attributed to risk of hospitalization. We know if you exercise, you have reduced a hospitalization, right? That's about a 20% risk. If you volunteer 2 to 4 hours a week, 100 to 199 hours per year, you actually reduce your risk of hospitalization by 27% more than exercise. So I thought that's why it's a real value to get 2 goals.
So I'll tell you anecdotally, we were in Nashville 2 weeks ago at Meharry Medical College, and the chief medical officer for the state of Tennessee for Ascension came by truly to shake the hand of Meharry's president and Zip, right? He's one of the busiest people on the team. And, when he found me, hi, Robyn, I'm here. I'm going to say hi to Dr. Hildreth, zip, zip, zip. Within a half an hour, he came over to me and said, I just called my assistant. I've changed my whole day. I need to stay here. This is where I need to be. And he was, letting kids put splints on him and showing them sutures. And, he was changed by it. And so I watched it. I also watched a kid who had never, ever thought of this, sewing up kind of fake skin and telling me, I am really good at this. I think this is what I'm going to do, and it makes a difference on both ends.
Thank you so much. In the interest of time, let's again give and thank you again for such an inspiring keynote and leaving us with thoughts to think. How do we do it? And I think I was thinking about Stacy when you were saying your hand was here, now it's here. She has risen, right? Being cheesy with R.I.S.E. She's all in. She's raised her hand. So thank you, Stacy.
Thanks, everybody.